Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The New World. And in today's video, we discuss one big thing that has been circling around the Chiefs' loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, and that is the GOAT debate between Patrick Mahomes and TB12. But before we hop into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button as we're on the road to 10K subs, turn on those notifications to catch any new videos on the way, and comment if you think that Patrick Mahomes' GOAT debate is over with. Now, Bardo, after missing out on making history with the three-peat, do you agree with fans and think that the GOAT debate for Patrick Mahomes is over, or does he still have time to do that?
I definitely disagree with fans. I think that the fans that are saying that are delusional and are honestly hating, if we're just going to be objective and be serious about this conversation, to say that Patrick Mahomes is like out of the GOAT debate is kind of crazy. And y'all fans that are saying that, you sound like fucking Stephen A. Smith, who has been changing his tune and going back and forth. Like after the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl was saying that Patrick Mahomes could be the GOAT, and then before the Super Bowl he was saying that he can't be. Now he's saying that he won't be. Like, just make up your damn mind. Tom Brady played over 300 games in regular season and postseason, and I think that Patrick Mahomes has only played like 112. And in that, if you just look at their careers and look at their accolades, Brady has 7 rings. Yes, he does, but Patrick has 3. And if we just look at accolades up underneath that, nobody in their right mind can say that this is not the greatest start to an NFL career that we've ever seen. Now, what I will say is this, is that I don't agree with what people say when they say that, oh, I don't see Patrick going 10 years without winning one. I can say that I don't think that that would happen, but you never know, because one thing that I've talked about in that Super Bowl recap is that I do think that this team needs a retoolization. Like, this team is done in terms of being the best team, because when we look at dynasties, is that there's typically in a dynasty, which is like winning, I say like in the NFL winning 2 and in the NBA winning 3, that last Super Bowl or that last championship, they probably weren't the best team when they won that. When the Chicago Bulls, when they won that last championship in 1998, I don't really think that they were better than the Utah Jazz. I think that they just had the better player. Similar situation to this. Last year, they weren't the best team. They weren't better than the 49ers. They weren't even favored to win that Super Bowl, but I think they won that a lot to do because of experience and because they had the better quarterback. So based on that, this team needs help. First of all, that offense, they need to add some big bodies up there on that offensive line. I think the defense is fine. I think they have some young players that are only going to get better. But Chris Jones is also getting older, so we also need to ask how long he wants to play. Kelsey is done. I don't want to hear anything about, well, oh, he can turn it on and turn it off. I don't think so, dog. I'm not seeing, he's not moving the same. Like, he's not giving me any type of production, really. He's very, very inconsistent. And another thing, and Buff sent this to me before we started recording, he's also not giving me effort all the time. And I think a lot of that has to do with him being old and conditioning. So they need to kind of figure out what's going to be their backup plan in terms of who is going to be Mahomes' number one option. And that number one option cannot just be a Rashee Rice, who I think is really, really good. It has to be a game changer from a skill position standpoint, which is why I've talked about potentially, bringing back Tyreek Hill's ass, even though he's passive aggressive and doesn't know if he wants to stay in Miami with the sunshine and the access and the bread or actually fucking win. Tyreek Hill, if you really want to win, take your loser ass back to Kansas City, because that was the only time that you were ever seriously competing for a championship. So all I have to say is, if you just look at stat for stat, especially on averages per game, Mahomes is better. Brady, all he has is longevity, and he has the championships. And I agree with that. Brady is the GOAT for now. And Patrick, you could probably slide him to that 3 spot behind Joe Montana, because Joe Montana, who is probably one of the most underrated players in NFL history at this point, he has the accolades, and he also has what Brady and Mahomes doesn't has, is he's played pretty much great in every Super Bowl that he's ever played in. I mean, he's 4-0. So if you want to put Mahomes, move him down to 3, I'm cool with that, but he's no less than 3. He's 3 at minimum. And for this guy to only have played 7 or 8 seasons, for us to say that he can't catch Brady because Brady has 7 Super Bowls is very disingenuous. Also, based on Mahomes' individual accolades, if he continues to add individual accolades, he already has 2 MVPs. Brady only has 3. Mahomes already has 3 first-team All-Pro pro selection, I believe. Brady has 3 for his career. So that's 23 seasons. He only has 3 first-team All-Pros and 6 All-Pros in total. Do y'all really think that Patrick is not going to get more than that? So people need to stop fucking looking at the rings. We have to factor in your individual accolades as well, because then we got to go back to in the NBA. Is Robert Horry the second greatest player of all time? Of course not. So let's stop being disingenuous and being disrespectful. I think a lot of it is coming from the Chiefs have now become the evil empire of the NFL. They're very, very much well hated. And during the New England Patriots, during their runs, they were the villains, but now Brady has become beloved. And I think that that's because people don't like the style of winning that the Chiefs have. They can come across as a little arrogant, a little pompous, a little cocky, and people don't like that. So I think a lot of people were happy to see the Chiefs get humble. And also, the way that they won and the form that they were winning, let's keep it a bean. The Patriots didn't win like that. They won over a 20-year span, but they didn't win like that. This Chiefs dynasty, we're going to look back on it 10 and 15 years from now and be like, damn, that might have been the best dynasty in NFL history. Now, you can make an argument for other groups, but this run, this 6-7 year run that they went on, making the AFC Championship game every fucking year, 5 Super Bowl appearances, hasn't been done. So I think that what we need to do is acknowledge what this team has done and acknowledge that Patrick still has a lot ahead of him. Now, I will say that he has a lot of ground to make up. He put himself behind the 8 ball, especially getting blown out in 2 Super Bowls. Brady never got blown out in a Super Bowl. He always played. I mean, he had some Super Bowls where he didn't play that well, but he never got blown out. Every game was competitive. Always damn near came to a last game winning drive. So we factor all of that in, then you can say that. But I will say this, and this is what people are taking into account, is that Brady was on teams that were deemed the best teams, and he lost to Eli fucking Manning in the Super Bowl. Where in 2007, you had the most prolific offense ever, the greatest team ever, and then they say that, we're going to hold them to 17 points. You laugh it off and you only score 14 points in the Super Bowl. So we got instances, we got reasons to be like, okay, let's just stop looking at, because we're having revisionist history. We're also being prisoners of the moment. Let's actually collectively look at Brady's career. Those first 3 Super Bowls, he wasn't the game changer. So there's so many different factors. Every single Super Bowl, Mahomes has been the driving force. And I will say that they did have a great defense in these last, in the one from last year, not the one before that. But they had a great defense. But let's just pump the brakes on saying that this guy can't make it back, because I definitely believe that he can get back into those conversations, but he is going to have to win more. But for people to be disingenuous and disrespectful, I'm just not really feeling that, bro. I'm not really feeling that. If we just being honest, like this dude, nobody has had a 7-8 year start like this guy, bro. Brady didn't have that. Yes, he had 3 rings, but he was a game manager in those 3 championships. And when he started really being Tom effing Brady, they went a 10-year drought without winning. So all I gotta say is, let's just acknowledge what we're watching and acknowledge that we're watching greatness in Patrick Mahomes, and he has a long amount of football left ahead of him to play. Let's evaluate this in like year 15 or year 16.
Okay, so I'm kind of going to provide a different perspective, as my boy already provided, because I think he more so took on the lens of how great Patrick Mahomes has been. Patrick Mahomes has been all-time great. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I have no doubt about that. Now on the pod, I have the reputation of kind of being a Chiefs/Mahomes hater. I'm not going to lie, I kind of did like them when they first started to come up, but then something switched up, and then I just started kind of not liking them as much. And yeah, so basically, here's what I'm gonna say. I think Patrick Mahomes and Miles already pointed out the regular season stats, so I'm not even going to talk about the regular season stats. Patrick Mahomes has built himself up as all-time great legacy. Arguably, like if you just look at the first couple years, it's honestly go trajectory in terms of statistical output and achievements, accolades. Pretty much gotten all that. In the playoffs, he is pretty much regarded as the most efficient player, the greatest playoff performer ever already, just based off of the amount of games he's had and how good he's played in the amount of games. So here's what I want to point out, and I think this is what people kind of get onto, is the fact that he hasn't really played that well in a Super Bowl. So like if you just look at his span over his first 5 Super Bowls, he has not played that well. The game against the Eagles, he played really good the first time. He played exceptional. He was fantastic that day. He only threw for 182 yards, but he had 3 touchdowns and his passing rate was over 130. So he was fantastic that game. Pretty much couldn't ask for anything else from him. But every game that I've seen from Patrick Mahomes outside of that game, he has been mad spotty, and he has gotten blown out in two of the other games, and the other two games he has played against the San Francisco 49ers has gotten the job done, but it hasn't been pretty. He's kind of gone down to the wire, and pretty much his other games that he's won. So my thing with Patrick Mahomes, and I kind of saw this last game in the Super Bowl where they got embarrassed. Just too much backyard football that I think Patrick Mahomes plays, and I think Tom Brady just didn't have this shit. Now, Tom Brady, in my opinion, is a better Super Bowl player than Patrick Mahomes. You can just see this off of if you just compare their first 5 Super Bowls, even including the 2 that that Brady lost to Eli Manning and the Giants. If you just compare, the first 5, even error adjusted, like even if you just keep the error like the same, Brady looks better. Brady just looks like a better quarterback. And then if you look at the last 5, you really shouldn't even compare the last 5, because the last 5, Brady got better as a quarterback pretty late in his career after he turned 30 in 2007. So it's kind of a hard hard hill for Patrick Mahomes to climb. And as we know, Brady went through the 10-year interval where he didn't win the Super Bowl from 2004 to 2014. So that's also something. But when I just look at Patrick Mahomes, and for as great as people tell me he is, and he is great. He gave me a couple stinkers in the Super Bowl, and I just can't forget that. Like on my top quarterbacks of all time, I have him at 3, just behind Joe Montana and Tom Brady. I think the Tom Brady conversations for a little bit kind of need to slow down a little bit, and I think we need to focus getting him more so over Joe Montana. So like once I think Patrick Mahomes gets his 4th, I think we can just start then having a conversation between Tom Brady and the other guys. So that's my thing. Patrick Mahomes in the other night's game played one of the worst games I've ever seen him play. He played terrible. I've said this on a previous recording we did for this video. Patrick Mahomes entered halftime. 6 of 14 passing, and that also I forgot to mention that also does include the drop that he had, the drop that DeAndre Hopkins had, which was a terrible drop. It's because the dude slid and he could not catch the ball. And man, like for somebody who has surefire hands as him, that was pretty embarrassing. And for some reason, DeAndre Hopkins wanted to, after the game, wanted to complain about the refs. Nigga, y'all got blown out. It wasn't like it was a close game. Y'all got blown out. Y'all were down.
Hopkins, you should be ashamed of your fucking self, sir.
Yes,
Don't talk about the refs, bro.
Bro, they were down 34-0 at one point in the third quarter. So, yeah, besides DeAndre Hopkins, that's kind of, the video is not really about him. It's about Patrick Mahomes. So, that was a bad. I kind of don't blame him on that one. Many people say that was inaccurate, though. I just didn't think DeAndre Hopkins adjusted himself towards the ball. He was wide the fuck open. Like he would have took that shit down to the 20. So Patrick Mahomes was so bad, and I have to just say this because he had under 40 yards passing in the first half. He had 33 passing yards in the first half, 2 interceptions, 1 pick six that was really bad. He didn't even see the guy when he threw the ball. I'm sure once he let it go, he was like, oh shit, and then Cooper DeJean took that shit back home. Had another pick inside the 15-yard line, so that easily set up Philadelphia. So that was Patrick Mahomes before halftime. Right before halftime, he had 33 passing yards, 6 of 14 passing, no touchdowns. Of course, they didn't even advance the ball towards midfield until the 10th drive of the game. So they weren't really efficient as an offense. Don't even look at the end box scores. Like he was not good. This nigga had a fucking passer rate at the end of halftime of 10.7. 10.7 was his passer rate. Mind y'all, passer rating goes from 0 to 158.3. He had a 10.7 in the biggest game of his life. That was his passer rating. Also, his QBR was 1. His QBR was 1 on a scale grade from 0 to 100. It was 1. He was horrific. And the end of the game numbers kind of saved him because if you look at the end of the game, his numbers, his pass rating goes to 95.4 because he added 3 more touchdowns in garbage time. All 3 of those touchdowns were in garbage time. I see a lot of people say only 2 of them were in garbage time. No, all 3 of them were in garbage time. So all 3 of them were in garbage time. The game was already over in the third quarter. Game was already over in the third quarter. So don't miss me with that shit. And then he wanted to throw and the Patrick Mahomes wanted to throw one of his best passes of the year, one of his best passes he ever made. Late in the game, like, dog, are you kidding me? He threw, like, Patrick Mahomes throws this shit fucking 64 yards in the air to Xavier Worthy for a bomb at the end of the game, bro. And I know he has to compete, he has that mentality, but dog, this is what you give me. Now I will say the offensive line, was horrific. It was horrific. Joe Tooney, I think he allowed 7 pressures. He was not good. I thought one of the main people who kind of escaped a criticism, because many people don't blame the offensive line. Everything goes to the quarterback. Mike Caliendo, the left guard for the Kansas City Chiefs, got his ass pushed on this ground for multiple times in this game. He got pushed around so much, it was terrible. It was terrible. We already know about Jawan Taylor. I don't even have to bring him up. So yes, that's their offensive line. So 3 out of 5 of them guys are liabilities. They are not competent. They do have the best center in football, but how much does that help you when your tight end isn't even fucking blocking? So anyways, that's just from the offensive line. So I can't blame Patrick Mahomes for a lot of this. And also, I have not seen the all 22, so I have not seen if these receivers are not open or not, because many people lose this if when you look at how efficient Philadelphia Eagles were when it came to the pass rush, when they was only rushing 4, and you have 7 guys in fucking pass, playing the pass. That really, kind of hurts Mahomes in a lot of ways because he doesn't have the numbers advantage. It would be different if they were blitzing and guys were coming out not to play defense, but dog, they only had 4 pass rushes and they was getting home every time. I think that pressure rate was near 50%, and they did not even blitz. So that goes to show you how great they were. When you just look at the roster, how talented they were, and we already made a video on them. Y'all can go check that out. So that's my thing. But otherwise, Patrick Mahomes, he has to take a step back and kind of look at himself, and he has to, honestly, if you kind of look at it like this from this lens, the Kansas City Chiefs have honestly kind of turned him more so into fucking Alex Smith. Like, literally, they turned him into Alex Smith. They don't even rely on Patrick Mahomes that much. Their offense pretty much bungles down to just RPOs, and I have to get on to Andy Reid for the most part of how badly their offense has just turned out to. And honestly, most of it has to go to the GM. Why haven't they really gotten sustainable help for Patrick Mahomes? Patrick Mahomes is throwing to a rookie wide receiver in the Super Bowl. A rookie wide receiver in the Super Bowl. That's his number one. That's number one that he's throwing to in the Super Bowl. His number 2 that he's throwing to in the Super Bowl is a aging DeAndre Hopkins who is not the player that he used to be. So you kind of have to look at it like that from that standpoint. But otherwise, Patrick Mahomes, to me, he didn't even need to win this game. He just needed to play better. And he did not play that good. The final stats kind of, make it look better, but by any means, Patrick Mahomes was not good in this game. It was one of his worst games. I honestly thought he was worse this game than he was in the Super Bowl against Tampa. Because Tampa, that wasn't really on him as much that this one was on. He was bad in this game. So I think he can come back to that, those go combos. I think he's just going to be out of it for a while. I mean, not for a while. He's going to be out of it for a minute. Because honestly, Tom Brady was not that good in the playoffs, really, if you just look at how efficient he was on a per throw basis, really in the playoffs. And Tom Brady had a lot of situations go his way in the playoffs. I think he has more games won in the conference round than Drew Brees does when throwing 3 picks. Literally, Tom Brady has won, I think, two AFC championship games where he's thrown 3 picks. I think he threw 3 in the one against Green Bay. So not just AFC, but NFC too. So, dog, it's not really impossible to overcome. Patrick Mahomes can definitely overcome it, but we're just going to take a pause on this because this is a big mark on his legacy. It's going to be on his resume for as long as he plays football, but he is still an all-time great talent. And I think this guy, honestly, this is what I think. This guy is honestly one of the greatest talents we've ever seen, arguably the greatest talent we've seen play quarterback. When you look at his arm talent, when you look at his IQ, when you look at his mobility, when you look at how he processes, he is there. He is there talent wise, but this was just not a good showcasing, and he has he has kind of take a step back because this is honestly a big loss for him. If you like just picture this: if Patrick Mahomes wins his fourth, he three-peats. Nobody else has done that. So then he has something that can kind of, he can attack Brady with, really, because Brady has never done that. Honestly, they've gotten Philadelphia Eagles are the real dynasty enders because they kind of prevented a three-peat from Brady and from Mahomes. So that kind of would have helped him in his GOAT case because he would have immediately sprang up like equal playing level as Tom Brady. But now he has kind of taken a step back, and I think he just needs to kind of work on his mechanics because in off season, literally, because his mechanics, he hasn't been as sharp as he was in 2022. So yeah, those are just my things. I'm passing it off to Jay if he has anything else to say.
Yeah, man. I think that fans, criticizing Mahomes in the whole GOAT debate, I think they're like really disingenuous because, for one, I think all of it just comes from the hatred of Mahomes and the Chiefs. Like, they just hate to see this team win. They hate to, respect the greatness of this team and what they've done, because if you look at their track record and all these Super Bowls they've been to over these past years, they were not the favorites. Last year, they were not the favorite, but they had the best quarterback. The year before, they weren't the favorite, but they had the better quarterback. And that's why they won those games. And you got to recognize it. And this year, they weren't the favorite. The Eagles had the better team, and they were the favorite. And this year, it showed. Like the Tampa game. Mahomes, his O-line, them niggas was getting put on their ass. Them niggas was, especially that left side, Joe Tooney and the left guard. Bro, they were getting demolished, bro. Like Joe Tooney, he was getting like it was bad. And the crazy thing is that this dude was voted the MVP for the team. I would have snatched that hoe from him like real quick, bro. He was voted MVP of their team. And even Tom Brady was talking about it. He was like, Joe Tooney is the MVP of this team. And because he played with Brady and won rings, and then he played with Mahomes. And it's like, bro, I get it. You moving from left guard to left tackle, but he was getting destroyed. Like Josh Sweat, we were even, talking about this. That brother should have won Super Bowl MVP. How dominant he was, against Mahomes. But
don't say that. Jalen Hurts fans are gonna come at you.
Man, they'll be all right, bro. But yeah, Mahomes, I don't think he's far from, being away from those GOAT talks. I think they should be halted right now, yes, because he would have made history three-peating, doing something that Brady hasn't done, which, he ended up falling short of. And, now he's still a ring behind Joe Montana. So, that's understandable why he's 3. But to say that, he can't be in that is kind of crazy because, like my boys were saying, the dude's had probably arguably the greatest start for a quarterback in the NFL. Like, he's done stuff that Brady hasn't done, and he's had more wins than he's attributed more than even Joe Montana in the postseason. So it's like you can't just, throw out the stuff that he's done and act like he hasn't already won 3 rings. And, it's kind of crazy. But you look at, you compare Tom Brady's teams to Patrick Mahomes. We always hear, oh, Tom Brady has all-time great teams. We never hear that with Mahomes. Nobody's ever said he had an all-time great team last year, the year before that. Like, nobody's ever said that. And if I'm the Chiefs GM, I gotta, bulk this team up for my quarterback, my generational quarterback. I gotta get him some more help, especially starting with that O-line. Mahomes might be, cool with having some, okay skill players and stuff, but the O-line is definitely the one thing that has to be, bulked up for sure. And even the defense, like Brady's always had a really great defense, and Mahomes, he just got a good defense last season. That was the best defense he's pretty much had. But if you can't really say that Mahomes, can't be the GOAT and all this stuff. Like, he already has, similar accolades, singular accolades to Tom Brady. Now it's just the rings that he got to chase. And when he lost, he plays bad. And Patrick Mahomes, this was his worst game of his career. He already said that. But Brady, losing to Eli Manning twice with all-time great teams and losing to Nick Foles, like, you also got to look at they're two different players. Like Patrick Mahomes is mobile, and Tom Brady isn't very mobile. So you have to put great O line around Tom Brady so he can have time to do those Tom Brady things. But with Mahomes, when he doesn't have great O line, he's running for his life. We saw that in Tampa Bay, and we saw that this past Super Bowl. So the Chiefs GM, he's gonna have to get him some help with the O line. He'll have to get some better guys for that secondary. Even though Trey McDuffie is a great all pro corner, but they're small. They definitely have some smaller guys on there, and they'll have Rashee Rice back next season, and Xavier Worthy, he'll be a year better, but he has things needs to work on himself. Mainly, he needs to get stronger because even though he's there for the deep routes, and he was getting bitched around when it comes to going off the line. Like you can shove, bro, because he's small. And then running backs, Pacheco, he got hurt this season. He was out, and then luckily they had Kareem Hunt come in. But is that really going to work out? Because I mean, the Chiefs didn't really even go into the run game that much, this game because that 4-man front, like Pacheco, even though he runs angry and stuff, that wasn't finna get past no Jalen Carter, Josh Sweat, and all that, or Kareem Hunt. So I mean, it's definitely some things that this team has to tweak and improve upon. But I do think the Chiefs will be back, in no time soon. I don't think, it'll be a 10-year gap before they make it back to the or win a Super Bowl. But I think they'll be back, But for them to win, especially against the Eagles, who I think the Eagles will, constantly be back there in the Super Bowl, that the Chiefs offense will definitely foremost have to, improve upon for Patrick Mahomes to, win more rings. But like I said, man, it's disingenuous to, trash the brother and, say all this stuff. And, everybody's always said, oh, the Chiefs, devil magic and this and that. But, man, I ain't trying to hear nothing about no devil magic. I saw a video of an Eagles fan. This woman was at the game performing voodoo magic, bro. She had a doll of Patrick Mahomes and was poking him, bro. I ain't trying to hear nothing about no devil magic. We just saw that in live 4K. We just saw an Eagles fan do that. So I ain't trying to hear nothing about no devil magic. But I mean, yeah, man, Tom Brady, he's definitely had the better talent surrounding him than Patrick Mahomes for longer. So if you give Patrick Mahomes that talent, ain't no telling what he's gonna do. And I think, mark my words, I do think Mahomes will have an MVP caliber season next season. I do think he will do so. And even when Mahomes gets to the latter part of his career, I think, once he loses that mobility, which he constantly will do as he gets older, he will, focus more on his mechanics and throwing ability. And we could, we can see, his throwing stats and stuff like that improve.
That's where I have to come and disagree with you. I was with you, then I have to disagree with you. I think he needs to work on those mechanics now. You can't just wait until you're in your 30s.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying he should work on them later on, but
because that is something that he needs to work on and I think that he will. But dog, he got to work on that now if he even wants to sniff at being in the MVP convo. I'm saying that he's going to be in that because I think he's going to work on that. But if he don't work on that shit, he's not going, because I don't know if they're going to give him a bunch of help. I don't know if they're going to do that.
Yeah, I don't really know.
Because CJ and I have been talking about this. He's digressed, dog. Like, if we just want to call it a spade, he's digressed. And I think a lot of that is because he's not as athletic as he once was, and his mechanics are off. So he needs to work on those things if he wants to get back in MVP talks. Because for the regular season perspective, he hasn't been able to do that. We just keeping it a bean.
Yeah, I think he will get, more help. How much help? I don't really know. But, he will get, better help around him because the GM, he knows how great of a talent he has at QB. So he knows he will have to, help him out. But yeah, I do think the Chiefs, they'll be back, no time soon. I think people, should chill out with, trashing dude and, saying he ain't the GOAT and this and that. But MVP Mahomes, I think we'll see it very soon because I think this lit a fire in him. Absolutely, I think this lit a fire in him because everybody, they love attacking him on how bad he plays in the Super Bowl that he loses. So I think this definitely lit a fire in him.
I forgot to say one thing, and I'm glad you brought it up. When evaluating Tom Brady in his GOAT case, many people also forget that the biggest mark on Tom Brady's legacy, the biggest mark on his legacy is those losses he had to Eli Manning and the New York Giants. And many people forget this because a lot of stuff gets lost in translation. That's why I hope fans remember this performance that Patrick Mahomes had because he wasn't good. But many people can go off the box score numbers, and unironically, Patrick Mahomes was 9 of 10 for 109 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 151 rating in the fourth quarter. So some people might run with that. So, which I think is funny. But my thing is Tom Brady, number one scoring offense, I think per drive, and the 2007 Patriots, and it's MVP season, the best season he's ever had, one of the greatest seasons ever. 50 passing touchdowns, 4,800 passing yards. This man and his team, they were a 13.5-point favorite against the New York Giants, who won. What did they win? 9 games? They won 9 games. I think they won 9 games.
They were a wild card. Yes.
Yeah, they were a wild card team. They didn't have one home playoff game. This man went into Super Bowl and put up a pedestrian 14 points. So I hope people and if you average, the 2 appearances against the Giants in the Super Bowl, he averaged 15.5 points per game. So, he really didn't play that good. I think those 2 Super Bowls are the biggest market, because I don't really think many people blame the Eagles Super Bowl on him that much. Because you scored 33 points, that should be enough to win the game, honestly. So I don't think many people hold that against him. But those 2 right there, like, that's on his legacy, that like he'll have to live with that for as long as he lives. And he was saying on the broadcast that he thinks about the losses more than he thinks about the wins. Like, that stuff just hangs with you. So yeah, that's one point I forgot to bring up. Like, that was an all-time stinker from him, and I think he had 2 or 3 interceptions in the AFC conference game, and he got away with that shit. So yeah, I think many people just kind of need to do their research and kind of evaluate these quarterbacks and how great they are, because you can't just look at the ring count. You can't just look at that. You have to evaluate how they play, how they are statistically. And Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, as I think Jay alluded to, they're different style quarterbacks. They play the game differently. Brady is more of a cerebral type play. He throws from the pocket, so his line protection pretty much has to be good. Patrick Mahomes, he can kind of play that recess ass ball and get away with that. Like, really, like, honestly, I think he's been kind of leaning more so towards that Texas Tech style ball he played, where they pretty much, that's basically the style of ball he played. They would just air the ball out. And he was basically allowed to do like whatever. But now Patrick Mahomes has to get to a point where your declining athleticism. I think is me and Bardo think is noticeable. Jay, I don't know if you think it's noticeable, but he literally does not throw the ball the same they used to throw it, and that's okay. That's okay. But you have to actually grow, in the head more. And I think Patrick Mahomes is a smart player, but he just didn't read the defense that well in the Super Bowl last time, and I think he's going to work on that. I think his processing is going to have to improve, and his pocket presence is going to have to improve. A lot of those sacks, I think 2 of those sacks were on him. He was stepping up into pressure, so that's also one thing. But this go case definitely isn't over, as not Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. Smith will say. It's literally definitely, in effect. This is going to take a minute for Patrick Mahomes to actually catch Tom Brady, which I think he has potential to catch him.